What is happening? AJ Gamer Dude here, and are you a fan of horror games? And if so, do you like Dead Space? Please let me know in the comments below, and whether or not you kind of bought or played Dead Space Remake. I myself really like the Dead Space games, however they were a tad bit too action oriented, especially Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2, because I was kind of, when I think about survival horror, I think more like Resident Evil, I think more Silent Hill, I think more Siren, I think more Eternal Darkness, PS2, GameCube, kind of horror games that you would expect to see. So giving the character a gun is enough for me to be like, it's getting a tad bit action oriented, but then again, Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7 have certainly shown us that things can still be tense and scary even if you do have a gun. Though with all that said and done, Dead Space 2 Remake was reportedly shelved a while ago because people were working on different... So the studio that was working on Dead Space Remake, which was EA Motive, and they did, by the way, a bloody incredible job in recreating the original title, and the fact that, like, in the original game on the PS3, you can't travel between locations within the USG Ishimura. Instead, you can only go from location to location, and each location would be considered a chapter in the story. And so if you missed out on any collectibles, you can't go back and get them. Whereas this time around, they add a lot more functions, features, being able to, again, travel on the monorail back and forth between different locations, which you couldn't do before. The game looks significantly more incredible. The fact that enemies do respawn, even though you've killed them before, but again, that's kind of the nature of what a necromorph is, unless you delimb them, and even then they still come back if you visit a previous location. Sometimes they get stronger. The sound design is bloody incredible. I mean, I could keep gushing on about this game as much as I want. However, we're going to be talking about Dead Space 2 Remake. It was reported that the game did not sell well enough, and as a result, the remake was shelved, and it has been... This was actually a rumor. Now, what has been reported and is not a rumor is that some people from Motive have been moved to other different, different projects within EA. More specifically, I was about to say Battlefront, but that's not the game that they're working on. It is Battlefield. So people have been moved to Battlefield to work on that particular franchise. After all, it hasn't been doing particularly well since, Battle 1942 was great. Battlefield 3 was absolute banger. Battlefield 4 was also an absolute banger, even though it launched in a technically inept state and was buggy and broken as hell, but is now considered to be one of the best Battlefield games of all time. Hardline did alright. Battlefield 1 then picked the torch back up from Hardline and was also now just as good, if not better, than Battlefield 4. And now you've got Battlefield 5, which people did not like, especially when they were transitioning into more sort of battle royales and things like that around 2017, and then Battlefield 2048, which just was universally hated and disliked. I haven't touched that game at all, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But with Dead Space 2, it seems like EA has now come out and said that is not true, that it has not been shelved at all. So specifically what EA has said is, or I'll just read the update here. EA has addressed the report to state that no such project was ever in the works. We don't normally comment on rumors, but there is no validity to this story, EA said in a statement to IGN. Bloomberg added that EA decided to put the franchise on hold as early as last spring due to the Dead Space Remake not hitting the publisher's sales expectations. So sales was certainly a reason for why it was never considered in the first place. So it's difficult to say that they're no longer working on something if they never started working on it in the first place. And I suppose that's kind of an interesting way of wording it. It's just unfortunate that we were kind of hoping that we would get a Dead Space Dead Space 2 remake. It would have been nice, but again, it just came down to dollars and cents as to whether or not it would work out. And honestly, like, I wish more people did buy Dead Space Remake. Yeah, it was a little bit on the pricier end, but hell, it was still an exceptional game for last year. And that's in spite of the fact that last year we got so many bangers, you know. It deserved a mention, if nothing else. And apparently the next Battlefield isn't going to be released until late 2025, so I think it's fair to say that this is going to be a fall game, just like how most Battlefields have kind of launched in the either October to November period, alongside, you know, whatever new Call of Duty is probably going to be releasing at the same time. And this was all kind of originally started from Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb, who said that it, which he did kind of mention this, though I suppose his wording may have been a bit different from how other people are reporting it, because people can take your words quite easily, like how I'm taking the words from not just this title, but also from the update, and then trying to elongate it into an explanation in a video. You can take a person's words and apply it however you like, but it really just depends on what that person originally meant, and that's why you need to be careful about your wording. You know, be a little bit more concise and all the rest of it. And that's how, like, you know, a lot of people can make videos like what I'm making, where you can just elongate that possible explanation. But it is really sad to know that the first Dead Space remake didn't sell all that well, and because of that, they never considered making a Dead Space 2 remake. Hopefully, they kind of, you know, revisit the idea when, you know, EA makes a bit more money through other games. But until that happens, we can only hope, we can only pray that we get another one. Otherwise, I'll probably just go back to my PS3 version of Dead Space 2 and try and get the hard to the core trophy again, which was really, really annoying and difficult. But yeah, it is what it is. That's hardcore mode for you. Only 3 saves in the entire run and no checkpoints or permadeath. But with all of that said and done, let me know what you guys think about what's going on with the lack of updates with Dead Space Remake 2 being no longer a thing, or I guess originally was never a thing to begin with, according to EA. Would you like to see a Dead Space 2 remake? And if you're a fan of Battlefield, is there any do you have any issues with the way Battlefield is currently being handled, or are you kind of in the nose with Battlefield 2048? All those questions I'd certainly like to know in the comments below. With that being said, like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I want my videos to go out to more people. Hopefully more fans of Dead Space can watch this, and maybe we could snag 1 or 2 fans of Battlefield in there just to kind of provide some Battlefield takes as well. Though, with all of that being said, I completely forgot how I end my videos. With all that being said, I do upload every day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.